Welcome to So Very Easy. My name is Laura, and today I would like to do two things. One, I would like to introduce to you my very first fabric line. Now, I have been working with Bernina to develop some fabric, and this is my first line. And with that first line, I do have a free pattern. Now, this free pattern, you're going to be able to just download and follow along. So I'll put some links in the description. But let me show you the fabric and how fun this quilt is going to be. The fabric line is called Blooming Crystals, and there are two different variations. We have a green line and a blue line, and some of them are going to be able to be mixed. We have a nice big focal point with some fun fabric to go with it. There are two fabrics that are going to read as a solid, but when we look at them, they do have a little pattern inside. You can see where we have a little bit of a circular shape. We have some fun fans, and I love polka dots, so I needed some irregular polka dots. We could fussy cut this or just have it as a nice background. A floral and a fun tiled fabric that will be a fun one to fussy cut and get some different shapes from it. So we have the green and the blue. But today I am going to share with you a small quilt pattern that I did design around this fabric. You can use either the green or the blue, but for today I am going to be using the blue. And the pattern is going to be the star block. The quilt is 35.5 inches, so it will be a fun one to do, but we could double this and make it larger. The pattern is made of squares and half square triangles. And there's a little trick to those half square triangles to turn them into those flying geese. So let's get our fabric cut and ready to go. Fabric A will be our square fabric. We need one large block cut at 8.5 inches, and we are going to need 8 blocks cut at 4.5 inches. B, C, D, and E, those are going to be made into half square triangles. And we do have 3 borders. 2 of them are cut at 1.5 inches, and the last one is 4 inches. So let's start and make our half square triangles. We're going to need 4 of the D and 4 of the C. Those need to go together. The remaining C will get matched up with 4 of the B. So then the B and the E will go together. From here, we're going to turn these into half square triangles. So we need to place right sides together, draw a line from corner to corner, and then we're going to stitch on each side a scant 1/4 inch. Once we're stitched, we're going to be able to trim those apart. Now normally we take these and we press the seams to the darker edge. And in this case, we're going to do half-half. Half of the blocks are going to go to the dark, and the other half, they're going to be pressed to the other side. And we need to do that for the pile of the DC and the pile for the CB. The BH, we can press those seams, all of them, to the dark side. Having the seams going in opposite direction are going to help us put our units together, but we do need to trim these down to 4.5 inches. Once those are trimmed, we're going to be able to sew them together. And in this case, I do have that blue touching. Those seams are going in opposite directions, so we're going to be able to nestle them. And from here, we're going to stitch a true 1/4 inch. And with those seams going in opposite directions, and we're able to nestle that up, we are going to have that perfect point. This does look like the flying geese block, but it was just made with those half square triangles. So we are going to make a total of 4 of these blocks, which is our B and our C fabrics. We're going to do the same thing with C and D. We're going to make sure those seams are going in opposite directions. And this time, that darker color is going to go together in the lighter color on the outside. We will also have a total of 4 of these, and they are going to match. We just need to make sure that the seam is pressed in one direction and this seam is going to be pressed in the other. That way we can nestle them up and stitch hitting this intersection so we have that nice sharp point. When we press it, I would recommend pressing it so that you're able to see this intersection. And that way we can match it up for the next side. We now have 4 blocks that equals 8.5 inches. We're going to do the same thing to the B and E blocks. Once again, those squares are 4¼ inch. Draw that line down the center and stitch that scant 1/4 inch, and that gives us lots of room. Trim these down to 4.5 inches. I would recommend pressing those seams up to that E block. And in my case, that is the darker one. And those are going to get matched up with our 4.5 inch A blocks. So divide that in 4, and 4 are going to go in that direction and match up. So it sort of looks like a little bow tie. So we're going to be able to sew those 2 units and then those 2 units together. So we now have 4 of these bow tie blocks, 4 of the arrow blocks, and we're going to match them up to that big center 8.5 inch square. Now I would recommend turning these upside down and laying them out, and that way we can match up the seam allowances. This B color is going to be the color that's going to face out. So the lighter color is going to go around that center. So just take those and just flip them so that they're all facing the center. Now we're going to be able to add in those corners. And we're going to want that A fabric pointing in. So we have that lighter color going to match. So we can flip those over. So this seam is facing up. So this one is going to face down. This is going up. This is facing down. And by laying them down backwards, you really can see how those seams are going to go together. So I can sew 1 row, the middle row, the 3rd row, and then put those rows together. This is now a big 24.5 inch square. That light fabric has given us a star. The dark has given us an additional star. And it was all made with squares and half square triangles. Now we're going to be able to put a series of borders on it. The first border that's going to go around is my E fabric, which will match these little star points. Now they're cut at 1.5 inches. So the 2 sides are going to be cut at 24.5 inches, and then the second 2 will be 26.5 inches. The second border, I want to emphasize this lighter color. So it is fabric D. It is a small 1.5 inch border. This is going to be cut at 26.5 inches and then 2 at 28.5 inches. So this is going to give it a little frame to go along with a nice big 4-inch border. The first 2 sides are 28.5 inches and the last 2 sides are 35.5 inches. And that is going to give us a 35.5 inch quilt. Now when those borders are put on, we have a sweet little table topper. The blues and those purples really go together nicely. Now if you're wondering what this would look like if we put 4 of those big blocks together and add a border on, well, let me show you. And this is what it now will look like. It's about 59.5 inches, and when we do put those big squares together, you can really see this going on. It really does change the appearance of that block. Regardless if you make one block, 4 or more, it is a fun block to make, and it's all made with just simple squares and some half square triangles. I've had a lot of fun making this fabric, and I do hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have enjoyed making it. I will put some links in the description so that you can check out the fabric and the free pattern. And as always, thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I have a newsletter. It's all free under Sew Very Easy. And be sure to make every day a Sewtacular day. Bye for now.